Hello friends. In this video I'm going to show you how to build a rocket crafter for Duration 1 firework rockets that can make up to 54,000 per hour. That's clocking a single crafter at double hopper speed. So I've been actually working on this project for quite some time, since crafters first came out over a year and a half ago. I've got several prototypes I've gone through in this world, so they started out really clunky, these. And actually I've got Duration 1 and Duration 3 versions, but I'm going to make the Duration 3 tutorial in a separate video. This video is just focusing on Duration 1. So I had this convoluted mess, started to streamline and shrink it here, and then this version, a bit more streamlined, and finally the most compact version here. You can see it's a pretty small footprint for what it does. The actual dimensions are in this box right here. So it's 6 by 9 by 5, and you can drop in gunpowder and sugarcane. It'll continuously recircle them around as it crafts rockets. Or if you could put this in part of a larger build where they just go past and store in overflow when you have too much, that part of course is adaptable. But the features that this has, as I said, it's 54,000 Duration 1 rockets per hour, so it can keep up with an input of up to 18,000 gunpowder and 18,000 sugarcane per hour. Not many farms in Bedrock Edition produce that amount of stuff, so this crafter build may even be something you want to put near your central storage to have a supply of rockets there. Now I've got the basic version here and a version with a Shulker box loader here. There's a complication with auto crafting into a Shulker box, which, first of all, when the output is 6 times hopper speed, you've got to have a pretty fast Shulker loader to be able to do that. So I've opted to have the crafter dump the rockets directly into the box, but crafters don't handle full containers well. They will spill their output on the ground if the container is full, unlike a dropper. So to get around that, I've made a Shulker loader that breaks the box at signal strength 14 instead of 15. So it leaves a stack and 3/4 of unused space in the box. I don't find that to be too big of a deal. I'm content with a mostly full box of rockets rather than dealing with rockets spilling all over the place or on other reliability issues. Now, additional features that this has is it's a limited buffer, so there's 1 of each item will stay in the crafter, and up to 40 of each item will stay, yeah, you can see this has just over 40 in each dropper, and it'll stop. It automatically starts when there's enough ingredients and automatically stops when there's not enough to keep going. Now, it cannot fully craft everything because of the speed that it's clocked at, so if you tried to stop it right away when it ran completely out of one of the items, then you'd end up with double of the other item in the crafter just because it's clocking so fast. So my penultimate version of this was actually a bit more sophisticated. It kept the crafter empty, so a 0 buffer there, but still required a, let me see, oh, that got messed up from playing around, but it still required a like 40, the signal strength 1 of, or signal strength 2 rather, of items in the droppers. And I just decided that that goal of keeping the crafter unbuffered was kind of pointless when you have to buffer the droppers anyway. So this thing dealt with the unbuffered crafter by pulling out the extra ingredient at the end and shooting it back up a water column, and it has some more sophisticated redstone in the back. But although it worked, it's actually not really needed. So you've got to buffer them in the droppers anyway. So this build that I'm going to show you how to do today is a little smaller as a result. And so what is also going to filter the ingredients, as I said, each of these are double speed hopper filters. It crafts the sugarcane into paper, automatic start stop, and then Shulker box output. So those are the features, and let's go through building this step by step. To begin, we're going to build a 9-block tall pillar of blocks as a guide and start with our water stream up top. So on the 7th block up, we need 4 ice, and then go up and back 1, or up 1, back 2, and another 4 ice to do the loop. Then on the left side, we want a stair. It's kind of tricky to make the water flow in a loop in such a small build, but this will do it. I'm filling in with glass between and around the water streams. You could use any block for this if you wanted. So the water stream at the front is going to be 1 block below the back. And then in front of the ice, I'm going to use decorated pots. They're convenient because they don't lock hoppers, and they allow items to move past at normal speed. You could use honey at some of the spots, but then slab or upside down stair where at the spot where you have to block the water to switch directions. So decorated pots are really the most simple thing here. Then you can see I waterlogged the stair to make the water go around the front. Then at the end I have a 2 tall water that goes up and over and around the back, and that will allow items to go across the front, loop around, and when they loop around they'll be pushed into the decorated pots for alignment. The next step will be to set up the item filters underneath. So I'm going to have hoppers pointing straight down because, again, these are going to be double hopper speed filters using sticky pistons to move hoppers forward and back. Bedrock exclusive feature, and these are nice and compact. So the comparator will read the hopper through the packed ice, and that does need to be packed or blue ice, by the way. Regular ice is not solid, so it doesn't work this way. Then those comparators point into a block that has redstone next to it going back around on top of a solid block that can power the sticky piston. So there's signal strength 2, which means they have a higher capacity. I think they keep like 18 or 20 of the filter item in at a time. Then each of these hoppers is going to have a hopper pointing to the side underneath it. Actually, let's delete these and put them a block farther back so they're up against the sticky piston to get started. That way we don't have to send the piston forward and back to get them in place. Then we can remove the extra blocks, and the next step will be to put the filter items into the filters. So for that, I'm just going to get a stack of gunpowder and sugarcane and use some dummy item for the other 4 slots, 1 of each item. You can see the filtering, or the items are moving down at double hopper speed there. And it's a good practice to rename your dummy item. I'm not bothering here because I don't need to. And you can see it leaves 18 of the filter item and then retracts the hopper underneath. All right, now we're going to pipe these items down into the crafters. So starting with the sugarcane on the right, we need another hopper down into a crafter to make the sugarcane into paper. So also a hopper pointing to the side of that, so when the filter hopper comes forward, it'll load that auto crafter at double hopper speed. And then that's going to output to a dropper, which will put the paper into the auto crafter to make rockets. Now, if you're not going to do the box loader, you can have that facing forward. If you're going to do the box loader, face it downward to build it the way I'm going to show you. We need a dropper into that crafter from the other side for gunpowder, and then we also need to load that one at double hopper speed, so 2 hoppers pointing in. And to deal with the extra space here, we can just put another hopper there on the left pointing to the right, a barrel above that, and then when that filter hopper comes forward, everything will move through at double hopper speed. With all the piping in place, we can now begin to wire these crafters. So first I'm going to do the paper auto crafter. Put a block behind it, and then a block down and back of that, and another block up and back of that. So you kind of have the comparator in the middle of this saddle shape. We're going to have another comparator pointing into the side of it, reading a furnace. Now this actually could be a composter if you prefer to use composters for this, because you need signal strength 8, But I like to use furnaces, so I'm going to have a hoe and then 46 of some other item in the furnace. That'll give me signal strength 8, so that the comparator that's reading the crafter will only activate when the crafter is full. Then we need to run a signal off of this block that it's pointing into, wrap the redstone around, and you can see I've got furnace down there. That'll be important later. Block up at the top to prevent the filter from cross-talking with this redstone. And we're going to block the bottom 6 slots of the autocrafter, and let's test this out. So it does have to be a certain kind of circuit on the crafter so that it can actually run at double hopper speed. We have a minimum of components between the comparator and the crafter itself. And now we can wire the main crafter clock on the next level down. And to do this, we're actually going to go all the way to the bottom of our 9-block high area, place some glass there, and set up a comparator clock down here. We're going to need that additional space for the buffer circuits or buffer wiring. So we've got a comparator clock going like this. Now this is going to look a bit convoluted. Essentially, I designed this thing through continual revision of ideas, and the way everything looks is, and in the end, is sort of wrapped all around itself, but it works and it's compact. So I've got a target block with a torch going up to a block in the back with dust on it, as you see, that then activates that redstone block, that activates the repeater, that powers the crafter. And now I'm actually crafting maps super fast with that extra paper I had in there. So I need to then proceed to the auto shut off. Let's lock out the slots we don't need in this crafter, just the first 2 slots open to make duration 1 rockets. We'll start with the gunpowder side for the buffering, and so we're going to be reading the signal strength of the dropper with a comparator, and then it needs to shut off at signal strength less than 2. So we've got glass and then solid, dust on top of them, and a torch off the solid block that will shut off the clock redstone underneath. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some gunpowder in here so you can see how it works. As that filters down, once we get up to 40 in the dropper, then you'll see the clock in the back turn on. So there it goes. And then when it spits out enough, which right now is just filling up the crafter because we don't have the other side finished, it stops and leaves 39 in there. All right, next we can swing around to the paper buffer. And again, we'll need a comparator reading the dropper. This points conveniently into the solid block that's supporting the comparator for the paper crafter. And from here, we're going to take the signal strength down with a piece of dust under that block. Now we want to take the redstone torch right off of that solid block this time. And so we need to subtract 1 from the comparator that's reading the dropper. So I just need a furnace here with 1 item in it. And I'm putting 1 in each slot just because I'm finicky about that. But set that comparator to subtract mode. So now when that has a signal strength 2, it'll power the dust underneath. And the torch will go on the front of the block underneath, and then from there we extend the redstone dust line around, touching the target block and connecting to the rocket crafter clock. With that complete, we can test what we have so far. So I'm going to put in sugarcane in the sugarcane filter. That will just make paper until the paper buffer gets 40 items, and then the redstone torch below will turn off. There it goes, and then we can put the gunpowder in the gunpowder side, and when that dropper fills up, the redstone torch from there will turn off. So you can see both torches here, they're off, so we're crafting rockets, and they turn right back on because we didn't have that much extra. This next step is optional. I'm going to show you how to put an overflow protection on the paper crafter. Because crafters will spit out items if the container is full. If we get too much paper in here without any sugarcane, then it'll start to spill paper. So to prevent that from ever happening, we can extend the dust line from the paper dropper around. So down there around this little glass path to a repeater, into a block with a torch on it, and then on top of that another block. And we'll have a sticky piston with a honey or slime block on it that will pull the solid block down from the filter whenever there is like 3.5 stacks or so of paper backed up in the dropper for the paper. So you can see when I add more paper to this, that dust line lights up and it pulls the block down, so that filter will no longer work, and then this top hopper will collect items but won't be able to empty them until we start to use some of the paper underneath. So as I said, that's optional. If you don't think you'll ever have unbalanced amounts of paper and gunpowder, you don't have to use that piece, but it does provide an additional protection against losing items. The final piece of this build will be the Shulker Loader. So we're going to start with a block right here and a dispenser facing upward to place the Shulker boxes. Then we want, actually we're going to need to replace this block here with a solid so that the boxes will place on it. And let me just replace that repeater there. This way the boxes will place against that solid block in the back and be accessible to be opened up while they're being filled, so you can access the rockets if you need to. Then we're going to break the shulker box this way and deliver the empty boxes under here like that. Let me switch out some items now. All right. Now we're going to dispense new shulker boxes with observer power there and move these solids. This observer just needs to watch something that would be activated. It could be a dropper. I'm going to use a trap door. And then we need another observer pointing down into that trap door. All right, our comparator that checks the box fullness is going to rest on that observer. And right here, the comparator is going to read the box through a honey block, and the honey block is there to allow a hopper underneath to catch the box. So let me just place those temporarily. The hopper is going to point out there, and we're going to have actually another barrel here to receive the empty boxes. And we don't need that. We can put that here if desired. All right. Now, the way this is going to work for the detection of signal strength 14 is I'm going to have this comparator shut off another comparator that will actually be powering this. And this comparator here needs to be reading a hopper that has 4.5 full stacks of items in it. I think it's subtraction mode. No, actually it's not subtraction mode. So that's like that. All right, so on this side, as long as the box is not being broken, this will keep the circuit for the crafter powered. When the box is being broken, then that is going to shut off, because this will shut that off to stop the rocket production while the box is being broken. Then the box is actually going to break through a torch here, and you can put a solid there or glass, doesn't matter. Then we want a redstone repeater on 3 ticks. All right, let's get some boxes in here. Oh, and this repeater is going to power this to that, and then another barrel there to deliver the boxes. But let me just toss some empty boxes in first to demonstrate how this is going to work. We can get that on there. Let's see if I place that. Yeah. I have to. There we go. So you see the box places so that it can be opened. And let me toss a bunch of gunpowder and sugarcane in here, and then we will partially fill the box up manually to test the breaking. Yeah, that's working. So you see how that broke cleanly. We didn't spill any rockets. We've got a box that is almost full. So just like that. And that way you'll never lose a rocket. You can grab them whenever you need to. You have storage building up, and of course you can put hopper to another double chest or something under there and store loads and loads of rockets. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this build. I hope this rocket crafter meets your needs, and enjoy your time in Minecraft.